This is Food Chemistry Unit 1, Regulation Trends. The FDA and the USDA both help determine what food labels must show. There's input from consumers, producers, health professionals, and it's a continuous process. So companies and manufacturers must comply with labeling laws. They have to put a label on their food and let you know what's in it. They can face fines or recalls, which are expensive and may force food plants to close. Consumers, industry, and policymakers are recognizing the value of access to healthy foods, but also knowing how to make good choices. And here are just some possible solutions. There's limits on sugar-sweetened beverage serving sizes. There's taxes on soda. There's salt shaker icons. I've seen these. It's labels on all restaurant foods that exceed half the daily salt requirement. And there's also some limiting of some products in public parks. This is a link to that salt shaker icon if you want to see what it looks like if you haven't seen one of those. Another issue is foods that fit more than one category. We now have lab-grown meat. Yes, it's real. So, like, who's looking out for this, right? We have the FDA that regulates the technology, growing the actual cell cultures in a lab, but you have the USDA that regulates the meat. So how is this actually regulated then? By whom? But here it is. Here's lab-grown beef and lab-grown chicken. Yes, it's real. All right, let's look at some other food trends. What is a food trend? A food trend is a pattern that emerges in the way large groups of people select and consume food. A food scientist will track how we eat based on consumer sales. There is a trend out there now. There's this natural or organic food trend. People believe these mean the same thing and that this label makes foods healthier and safer. No, fact, they are not the same. The natural label has no legal definition from the FDA. If you see natural on foods, there's no meaning behind that, but people are using it to make you think that the food is healthier. Now, organic, though, is different. Organic, what it actually means, right? That is regulated by the USDA's National Organic Program. And what it means is foods are not processed with preservatives or irradiation, and we will talk about these. I actually did, on the same field trip that I was on where I drove the tractor, visited, yes, we have here in Illinois, this is called Janie's Mill. It's an organic farm. The farmer is super nice. It's named for his daughter who was killed in a car crash. And where he is, he's wearing the shirt, I actually had that shirt as well. He is standing in his field, and what he's trying to show us is that to this side, right, where he's pointing, this is his farm. But just off the camera shot here, there's this fine line with the farm next door to him, which is not organic. So he's got to be careful that any of these plants that are close to the farmer that's not organic, those pesticides could get on his crops. So his farm is very heavily regulated by the government. Organic means his crops cannot touch any type of pesticide or insecticide. And then he's also got a mill where he packages and processes the wheat. So we actually got to tour this. These are his products. So he farms it, packages it, processes it, and sells it. And it is here in Illinois. There's another trend called farm to table, which is looking at the path of food from the growth of the raw product to processing, preparation, and presentation to the consumer. A lot of people are looking at that. So that's why you saw this farm here in Illinois. It's trying to support local farmers because he farms it, mills it, and then gets it ready for production to us. There's laws and guidelines established to keep food safe at each step. There are areas called food deserts. This is really sad. It's low-income areas where residents do not have access to a full-service grocery store. And a lot of these stores often, the available stores, right, in these areas often stock snacks instead of fresh produce. This does affect the diets of the people in these areas. So education, transportation, healthcare, nutrition, education, and income are factors that need to be addressed regarding food deserts. So where do food scientists fit in, right? What are some recent contributions of food scientists? Well, first of all, a food scientist is trained to know biology and chemistry of foods and the processes used to improve and preserve them. Food scientists will identify nutrients, establish links between the food supply and health, and they'll develop products and ingredients. So some of you may have gone to Feed My Starving Children. So where do you think that comes from? That's food scientists will develop foods to help combat hunger. Hydroponics. Food scientists have developed hydroponics, which are crops grown with the roots in water and nutrients, not soil. You have GMOs, which are genetically modified organisms. They're genetically altering foods for better resistance to insects, and we will talk about that, the pros and the cons. You have food analogs, we'll talk about these. These replace food components. So, for example, you can use vegetable proteins or soy to mimic the taste and feel of meat. So not only do you have lab-grown meat, but you have meat that's made from a soy product, a vegetable product. This is the Impossible Burger, if you've ever heard of that. It mimics the taste and feel of meat, and we will talk about that further. Then you have NASA, which has developed dehydrated foods and packaging techniques for the space program. So we have the International Space Station, where people are living and doing research in outer space, and they need food to survive. So NASA had to develop foods for that purpose. You also have cryogenic liquids. These are liquids at really cold temperatures that freeze foods quickly and with little damage to cell structures. It maintains the color, texture, and nutrient value of the foods.